I'm Layla Granger, a freelance singer, a single mom, and the woman who was abandoned by the man she loved while carrying his twins. For 11 years, I lived in silence. I raised my daughter, a fierce little warrior battling a rare illness, in a run-down apartment, taught piano to tone-deaf kids, and sold my songs under a fake name just to survive. I thought he'd forgotten me. But then a letter arrived, inviting me to perform at his engagement party for 1.8 million. And that night I sang, not the love songs they approved, but the truth, raw and unfiltered, on live television. Before I share what happened next, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever fought for your family, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to hear what comes after. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. Moonstream Media Group. The gold-embossed letterhead mocked me from across the room. I'd been staring at it for 20 minutes, my coffee growing cold, Sierra's morning medication lined up beside it like tiny soldiers. My phone buzzed. 2% remaining and checking. The automated reminder felt like a slap. Rent was due in 3 days, Sierra's next treatment in 5. With trembling fingers, I tore open the envelope. Ms. Granger, on behalf of Mr. Caleb Monroe, CEO of Moonstream Media Group, we are pleased to offer you an exclusive performance opportunity at his engagement celebration on November 15th. Compensation, $1.8 million. The mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the worn linoleum. Coffee spread like dark blood across the floor, but I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Caleb. After 11 years of silence, he was summoning me to sing at his engagement party. To her, to Ava Chamberlain, the senator's daughter who'd stolen everything. Mom? Sierra's voice drifted from her bedroom. You okay? I grabbed paper towels, dropping to my knees. Fine, baby, just butterfingers. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. $1.8 million, the exact amount for Sierra's experimental treatment. He knew. Somehow, he knew. I heard her walker scraping against the hallway floor. That sound that both broke and strengthened my heart every day. By the time she reached the kitchen doorway, I'd composed my face into something resembling normal. Another migraine? She studied me with those green eyes. His eyes. At 11, she was already too perceptive, too aware of how our world teetered on the edge. Just tired. I kissed her forehead, helped her to the table. Her left hand trembled as she reached for her juice. The tremors were getting worse. That night, after Sierra was asleep, I sat in our tiny bathroom and finally let myself remember. The Austin City Music Festival, 12 years ago. I was 22, playing guitar on street corners for tips. He was 27, fresh out of Harvard Business School, trying to escape his family's shadow. He'd stopped to listen to my cover of Hallelujah, dropped a $100 bill in my case. When I protested it was too much, he'd smiled. That crooked smile that made my knees weak. Your voice is worth more than that. Can I buy you coffee? Coffee became dinner. Dinner became breakfast. Within a month, he'd moved into my studio apartment, scandalized his blue blood family by slumming it with a nobody musician. But Caleb didn't care. Or so I'd thought. The memory of his promise echoed. I'll protect you from them, Layla. Always. I'd believed him. God help me, I'd believed every word. The pregnancy test had changed everything. 2 pink lines that should have meant joy became the beginning of the end. I still remembered the wonder in his eyes when I told him, how he'd dropped to his knees and pressed his lips to my still flat stomach. Twins? He'd whispered at the first ultrasound. We're having twins. But wonder turned to fear when his mother arrived at our Denver apartment unannounced. Victoria Monroe, media mogul, destroyer of worlds. She'd looked at my secondhand furniture, my keyboard in the corner, the ultrasound photo on the refrigerator, and her lips had curled. My son has obligations, she'd said, as if I were the maid. The Chamberlain merger depends on this union. You'll be compensated, of course. I'd thrown her out. Caleb had sworn he'd handle it, that nothing would change. But over the next weeks, I watched him unravel. Late-night phone calls that left him pale. Meetings with lawyers. The day I found him sobbing in our bathroom, prescription pills scattered on the floor, I knew we were losing. They'll destroy me, he'd whispered. Embezzlement charges, fraud, all fabricated, but with their connections. And you, they'll come after you too. Make you look unfit, take the babies. We'll fight, I'd said. But even then, I'd felt the walls closing in. The end came with surgical precision. No goodbye, no explanation. Just an empty apartment when I returned from my prenatal appointment and a lawyer with documents. Sign here, take the money, never contact him again. I'd torn up the check, packed my old Honda with everything I owned, and drove back to Austin with my heart in pieces. Sierra came early, born at 32 weeks in a charity hospital. Her twin brother, Silas, lived for 3 hours. I held him as he died, his tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and something inside me calcified. No more tears, no more trust, just survival. For 11 years, that's what we'd done, survived. I taught piano to tone-deaf children, mixed drinks at a sports bar, sold my songs online under a pseudonym. Every penny went to Sierra's care. The mounting medical bills, the therapies that slowed but couldn't stop her condition. Now this. An offer wrapped in cruelty, delivered with surgical precision. I picked up my phone, scrolled to the GoFundMe page I'd swallowed my pride to create. Help Sierra dance again. We'd raised $31,000 in 6 months. I needed 60 times that. My finger hovered over the lawyer's number at the bottom of the letter. One call, one performance, one night of swallowing my pride, and Sierra could have her life back. You can't be serious. My best friend Marcus stared at me across his coffee shop counter. It was 5 a.m. I'd been up all night. Layla, this is emotional torture. It's $1.8 million. I kept my voice steady. That's 18 months of treatment. Neural reconstruction therapy. A chance for her to walk without that damn walker. Marcus, who'd held my hair while I threw up during those first months of pregnancy, who'd driven me to the hospital when Sierra seized for the first time, shook his head. What about the anonymous donation last month? 50 grand just appeared. Maybe doesn't pay for experimental treatments. I pulled up the latest video from the research center in Houston. A 12-year-old girl with Sierra's condition dancing. Actually dancing. This could be her, Marcus. He watched the video, and I saw his resolve crumble. We both knew I'd already decided. The call to Moonstream's legal department was brief. Yes, I'd perform. Yes, I understood the terms. 5 songs, pre-approved set list, no deviations. The party would be broadcast live on their flagship network. A car would pick me up in San Francisco. One more thing, the lawyer added. Mr. Monroe won't be informed of the entertainment arrangements. This is Ms. Chamberlain's surprise for him. So Caleb didn't know. Somehow, that made it worse. I spent the next 2 weeks in a haze of preparation. Rehearsing songs I hadn't sung in years, altering a thrift store gown to fit my body that had changed since bearing children alone. At night, I sat by Sierra's bed, watching her sleep, memorizing her face in case everything went wrong. Why are you being weird? She asked one morning, catching me staring. Can't a mom look at her kid? Not like you're trying to memorize me. She struggled to sit up and I helped her adjusting pillows. Is it about the treatment? I heard you on the phone with the Houston clinic. Damn her sharp ears. Maybe, there's a possibility. Mom. Her green eyes, so much like his, pinned me. Whatever you have to do, do it. I'm tired of being careful. I want to run. That night, I found another anonymous deposit. $75,000 this time. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. Someone was watching, helping, but staying hidden. Why? The car arrived on a Thursday. Black town car, tinted windows, driver who didn't speak. I'd told Sierra I had a performance in California, would be back Sunday. Marcus would stay with her. 3 days. I could survive 3 days. As Austin disappeared behind me, I pressed my mother's phoenix pendant against my chest, silver worn smooth by years of nervous handling. The last gift from someone who'd loved me before I learned love could be a weapon. The Monroe estate sprawled across the marine headlands like a monument to excess. As we wound up the private drive, my stomach twisted tighter with each marble fountain, each perfectly manicured hedge. This was the world that had swallowed Caleb whole. Delivery entrance. The driver finally spoke, pulling around back. Of course, the help didn't use the front door. A young woman with a clipboard and dead eyes met me, rattled off instructions with practiced efficiency. Sound check at 4. Hair and makeup at 6. Performance at 8:30, precisely. No deviations from the set list. No interaction with guests. The powder room is down the hall if you need to be sick, she added, eyeing my green complexion. Happens to most performers their first time here. The rehearsal space was a converted ballroom, bigger than my entire apartment complex. I ran through the approved songs. Safe, bloodless choices. The Way You Look Tonight. At Last. Thinking Out Loud. Love songs for a couple whose love was built on my bones. Beautiful voice. The comment came from the shadows. I spun, heart hammering, but it wasn't Caleb. An older black woman emerged, elegant in hotel uniform. You must be the entertainment? Just a singer, I managed. She studied me with knowing eyes. Well, just a singer. I'm Rosalie. I run housekeeping here. You need anything, and I mean anything. You ask for Rose. There was weight in her words, an offer of alliance I didn't understand. But before I could respond, she was gone. Hair and makeup transformed me into someone else. The stylist, clearly instructed to make me camera ready, created a woman I didn't recognize. Sophisticated, polished. Nothing like the exhausted mother who mixed dollar drinks and taught chopsticks to bored 8-year-olds. Stunning, the makeup artist proclaimed. Mr. Monroe won't know what hit him. I almost laughed. She had no idea. At 8:25, I stood in the wings, watching the beautiful people orbit each other. Tech moguls and senators, judges and pharmaceutical executives. Caleb's world, where Sierra's life-saving treatment was pocket change. Then I saw him. 11 years had refined him into someone harder, sharper. The boy who'd played guitar with me on street corners was gone, replaced by a man in a $10,000 tuxedo. But when he laughed at something his fiancé whispered, I saw the ghost of who we'd been. Ava Chamberlain was everything I wasn't. Tall where I was average, blonde where I was dark, pedigreed where I was nobody. She wore confidence like couture, one possessive hand on Caleb's arm. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice boomed, please welcome our special musical guest for this evening. The spotlight hit me like a slap. I walked onto the stage, muscle memory carrying me when my mind went blank. The microphone was cold in my hand. Then our eyes met. The champagne glass slipped from Caleb's hand, shattering on the marble. His face drained of color so fast I thought he might faint. Those green eyes, Sierra's eyes, widened in horror, recognition, something that might have been anguish. He hadn't known. The opening notes of The Way You Look Tonight floated from my lips on autopilot. But all I could see was Caleb, frozen among the glittering crowd, his face a masterpiece of controlled devastation. Ava whispered urgently in his ear, but he didn't seem to hear her. I sang to the cameras, to the millions watching live, to everyone but him. The first song ended to polite applause. The second began. At Last, the song that had played in that dingy Denver bar where he'd first kissed me. His hands clenched at his sides. By the third song, something shifted in my chest. The teleprompter showed the approved lyrics to Thinking Out Loud, but other words rose in my throat. Words I'd written in the dark hours when Sierra's seizures wouldn't stop, when the bills piled higher than hope. I looked directly at the nearest camera and let 11 years of silence shatter. This next song, I heard myself say, is dedicated to every mother who's ever had to choose between her pride and her child's life. The event coordinator waved frantically from the wings. Security started moving, but Rosalie, wonderful, mysterious Rosalie, seemed to accidentally block their path with a catering cart. I closed my eyes and sang the truth. You promised me forever in a downtown Austin bar, said your money didn't matter, said we'd rewrite the stars. But when I carried your children and your mother came to call, you chose your family's empire and left me with nothing at all. The room went silent. Even the caterers stopped moving. Now I sing lullabies to machines that keep her breathing count medical bills instead of counting sheep while you plan your perfect wedding to your perfect Senate bride. I hold our daughter through seizures in the deep and— Stop her! Ava's shrill voice cut through the hush. But I was already in the final verse, the one that bled. She has your eyes, you know. That green like summer rain. Asks why some daddies vanish, why love becomes a chain. I tell her she's worth kingdoms, though we live on borrowed time. $1.8 million, the exact price of this rhyme. The last note hung in the air like an accusation, then chaos. Ava's palm connected with Caleb's face, the slap echoing through the sound system. She stormed off stage, her designer heels clicking like gunshots. The cameras kept rolling, capturing everything for live television. But Caleb didn't move, didn't chase after his fiancée. He stood there, tears streaming down his face as 200 of America's most powerful people watched a man shatter in real time. Security! Victoria Monroe's voice cut through the murmur. Remove that woman immediately. But something unexpected happened. It started with one person clapping, slow, deliberate, then another, then dozens. The applause built like thunder, and with it, the flash of phone cameras as every guest documented this moment of raw truth in their sanitized world. They couldn't throw me out, not with cameras rolling, not with the live stream trending nationwide. I walked off that stage with my head high, even as my knees shook. Rosalie met me in the wings with a knowing smile and a glass of water. About time someone told the truth in this house, she murmured. Car's waiting out back. Your payment's already transferred. Checked it myself. How did you— Been working for this family 30 years. Seen that boy grow from a decent kid to a broken man. Saw the investigator reports too when he tried to find you. Mrs. Monroe had them buried, but Rose sees everything. My phone exploded with notifications as I fled. Voice of Justice. Shach Mother Unbroken. The video already had 3 million views. Marcus called 17 times before I answered. Layla, what did you do? His voice mixed awe and terror. Every news channel is running the footage. Sierra saw it at the clinic. The clinic? My heart stopped. Why is she— She's fine. Routine appointment. But Layla, you need to see the news. The anonymous donor? Someone leaked documents. It was Caleb. He's been funding families with sick kids for years through a shell foundation. The Phoenix Trust. Phoenix, like my pendant. The flight home stretched like eternity. By the time I landed in Austin, reporters clustered outside the airport. I pulled up my hood, ducked through them, desperate to get home, to hold Sierra, to figure out what came next. But Sierra wasn't at the apartment. Marcus met me at the door, face grave. She's at the hospital. Started seizing an hour ago. The stress of seeing— I don't remember the drive. Only bursting through hospital doors, following the too familiar path to pediatric neurology, and stopping dead when I saw who sat in the hallway, head in his hands. Caleb looked up. 11 years collapsed between us. Suddenly I was 22 and terrified. 33 and furious, everything and nothing all at once. I didn't know you were performing, he said hoarsely. I swear I didn't know. Ava arranged it to hurt you, to hurt me. He stood slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Is she— Can I— You lost that right. But my voice broke. When you left us, when you let me bury our son alone. The words hung between us like blades. He flinched, aged a decade in seconds. Silas, he whispered. You named him Silas. I tried to find out, tried to come back. That first year I fought them every day. But Mother had restraining orders drawn up, threats of custody battles. She said she'd prove you were unfit, take the twins, so you just gave up? The fury felt cleaner than grief. You chose your comfort over us? I chose your safety! The words exploded from him. You don't understand what they're capable of. The accidents they arrange, the lives they destroy. I thought if I stayed away, they'd leave you alone. A doctor emerged before I could respond. Ms. Granger, she's stable, asking for you. I pushed past Caleb, but his broken whisper followed. I've been trying to save her from a distance. Every anonymous donation, every medical contact. I'm so sorry, Layla, for all of it. Sierra lay small in the hospital bed, but her eyes were bright, alert. Mom, I'm okay. The medicine worked fast this time. I smoothed her dark hair, counted her breaths. You scared me, baby girl. I saw the video. She studied me with those two wise eyes. The man in the hall. He's my father, isn't he? I couldn't lie. Not anymore. Yes. He looked scared. She shifted, winced. You're scared too, but different scared. When did you get so smart? When I got sick. Matter of fact, like discussing weather. People think sick kids don't understand things, but we do. We hear the whispers, see the bills. I know what things cost. My throat burned. You shouldn't have to know that. But I do. She squeezed my hand with her weak fingers. And I know you did something brave tonight. Something that hurt. For me. The door opened. Caleb stood at the threshold, uncertain. Sierra studied him with scientific curiosity. You can come in, she said simply, if Mom says it's okay. I wanted to say no. Wanted to protect her from disappointment, from hoping for a father who'd vanished. But looking at her face, open, curious, unafraid, I nodded. He approached slowly, sank into the visitor's chair. Hi, Sierra. I know who you are. She tilted her head. You have my eyes, or I have yours. Genetics are interesting. We studied them in science. Did you know green eyes are recessive? Both parents have to carry the gene. A startled laugh escaped him. I did know that, actually. I studied genetics at Harvard. Before you studied business? Instead of medicine. My parents wanted different things. Sierra processed this. Parents want a lot of things. My mom wants me to be happy. What do you want? The question hung in sterilized air. Caleb's voice cracked. Right now, to know you, to help you get better, to maybe earn the chance to be part of your life. That's 3 things, Sierra pointed out. But okay. Mom says I get my stubbornness from both sides, so you must be pretty determined. Over the next hours, I watched them circle each other with words. Sierra asking pointed questions about genetics and medicine. Caleb answering with careful honesty. When she finally dozed off, we stepped into the hallway. She's remarkable, he said softly. Brilliant, brave, like her mother. Don't. I wrapped my arms around myself. Don't you dare come back now with compliments and good intentions. She's not a project you can fund from a distance anymore. I know. He leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. I destroyed my engagement on national television tonight. By tomorrow, I'll probably lose the company. Mother's already called an emergency board meeting. Good. He almost smiled. Yeah, good. I've been a coward for 11 years, Layla. But watching you tonight, God, you were magnificent. Terrifying and magnificent. The woman I fell in love with, except stronger. I had to be. You didn't give me a choice. I know, and I'm sorry. More than words can ever. He stopped, pulled out his phone. The Phoenix Trust has enough to cover Sierra's treatment and 10 other kids. I'm making you co-trustee. Full access, full control, no strings. I stared at the legal documents appearing on his screen. Why Phoenix? His eyes went to my pendant. You wore that the night we met. Said it was your mother's. That phoenixes rise from ashes, rebuild from nothing. I hoped maybe we could too, someday. This isn't a fairy tale, Caleb. You can't just... I know. He pocketed the phone. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Not asking for anything except the chance to know my daughter. To help her. To maybe prove I'm not the man who left anymore. Sierra's voice drifted from the room. Mom, did he leave? We both looked through the doorway at her. Awake again, watching us with those patient eyes. No, baby, I said finally. He's still here. It wasn't forgiveness, wasn't trust, but it was a beginning. Outside, dawn broke over Austin. The world was waking up to the scandal, the viral video, the truth laid bare. My phone buzzed with interview requests, record deals, strangers offering support. But inside this room, we were just 3 broken people learning how to be whole. It would take time, maybe years, to build what should have existed all along. There would be lawyers and custody agreements, therapy and hard conversations. The road stretched long and uncertain, but Sierra would get her treatment. She would have her chance to dance. And maybe, just maybe, phoenixes really could rise from the ashes we'd made.